So I needed you to make a new if that will check if two things are colliding. So I will use are colliding, and as usual I will give him 8 parameters, and those are going to be just copy and pasted from the way I draw them. So I'm going to take this line of code and, for example, those, which are the numbers for the bullet. And if the enemy and the bullet are colliding, I could tell this to the player. Which is going to be kind of pointless and not funny. Instead I could actually kill the enemy, or recreate him on the bottom of the playing field and perhaps on a new X, or increase the score of the player. I will do the most visible of those things that I told you. I will put the enemy back to the bottom, and you will notice that we are able to hit him again because he is on the same X and our bullet is on the same X. So you can see that, yeah, this looks like a little bit of a glitch. Of course, this is not going to happen if we are dumb enough to fire a new bullet all of the time. The game will be much funnier if the enemy resurrects not only on the bottom Y but also on a random X. So I will write a line to change the value of enemy X. I will remind you that we need a random value that will be between 0 and 1, and in order to get a much bigger number we can multiply this by 800, which will get us numbers as big as 800, which will be a problem because of the enemy size, which is 50, and some parts of the enemy could not fit in the playing field. So of course a better multiplier will be 800 minus the enemy size. This is 750, and each possible random value between 0 and 750 will be small enough so that all of the enemy, all of his 50 pixels fit in the playing field. And you can see that when I hit an enemy now, I will need a lot of luck so that the enemy resurrects on the same X, and I almost got this luck this time. Sadly, I didn't. Another thing that you can fix is the strange part of the player where the bullet is born. Please change this initial position. And actually, I think I'm going to stop doing things in this lesson. Instead, I prefer to give you a lot of tasks for your homework. So the last things that I told you are part of your homework, but let me enumerate them and let me write them. So I already told you 2 of your tasks. If you haven't, it's pretty urgent to write movement to the left. Your 4th task will be fix the initial position of the bullet fired. Your fifth task will be pretty similar to what I just did. I added an if that checks if the enemy and the bullet are colliding, so I missed the if. So I missed an if that will check for a collision between the player and the enemy. Of course, if this is happening, we can decrease player lives or print game over and a lot of other possibilities. Your sixth task will be to stop the game when the player lost all his lives. Of course, this task is a little bit harder now that we have a lot of possibilities and a lot of things to act. So you should make the player unable to fire, unable to move. Your next task will be to not allow the player to fire when his previous bullet is still in the canvas, in the playing canvas. This will be kind of more realistic because it will make a long time for cooling down of our gun, for example, and also we will make the player to be more careful not to fire pointlessly. He will only fire when he is sure he will hit the enemy. And your eighth task will be about third game that we had in the past. I want you to change the controls of Jetpack Joyride, the game that was so similar to Flappy Bird. So in this game we could make big jumps with a single key up, and instead I want you to change this game so that it resembles more Gravity Run or another game. So I want you to make the player is Digga rise. I want you to let the player rise I want you to let the player be rising only when he is pressing the space bar. So use is key pressed to understand whether you should rise the player to a smaller Y. Of course, before doing all of this, there is more urgent task, and it is always with number 0. Add our new knowledge about is key pressed and key down in the sheet of paper that is most important in the world. I hope you are really happy with our action games, and pretty soon we will have even more violent games with a lot of square blood and square violence. And if you think this is lame, you remember this huge violent game that involved cubes. Are cubes better than squares? I don't know. Let's stop with this lesson. Bye bye.